Hey everybody, Mark from Northeast Bass Fishing. How's everybody doing? Well, I was kind of thinking of some ideas for some more of the Bass Fishing 101 videos I like to do, and I've kind of been throwing jigs a lot lately. I guess maybe more than you. I wouldn't say more than usual because I'm always throwing a jig, but I am starting to throw the spider jig more this time of the year. So I was thinking of doing a video on spider jigs. And then when I got all the different types out and the sizes, I said, I better split this up into two videos because just with the bigger size spider jigs, hula grubs, whatever you want to call them, there's quite a bit to talk about. And then I was like looking at like the Kitech spiders and things, and I'm going to do one that's kind of a finesse spider jig video. And this one today I'll do on the, the bigger style baits, that 4 and 5 inch hula grub, spider jig. I always call them spider jigs, like the Yamamotos. And Crazy Hick has a great one. The old Gag Craws, which was the first one I threw along with the Yamamotos. The Arkies, which are great. But I'll go through all the baits and everything because there's a lot of different options. Some are still available. Some are kind of discontinued and old baits. And some of the heads that I like to use, the jig heads I like to use. So what is a spider jig? Well, let me just take out. Now, probably, I don't know if it's the most popular, maybe the most well-known, but for you guys, maybe it's the Yamamoto Hula Grub, the 4 inch, the 5 inch. I tend to throw the 4 and the 5. I know that Yamamoto just came out with a 2.5 inch size, which I'm definitely looking forward to trying out. That'll probably be great on a Ned, but like I said, there's a lot of different styles and types. But let me just, I'm trying to think, way back when I first started throwing a spider jig, and maybe it was this Arky, the salty crawling grub Arky bait, because you can tell, I mean, this is an old pack. And I'll show you some of the ones I have in the boxes too. But this might have been the first one, I'm trying to think back, that I really threw. And what you have when you have a spider jig is you have, you got your twin tail, like you'd have on a twin tail grub. Oh, it looks like it's a little torn there. Oh no, it's just a little twisted there. And you've got that skirt top, and then some of them will have appendages along the side. Most of them are smooth there. This Arky style one happens to have appendages there. Whatever, if they have a great, if not. But that's kind of what you're looking at. A twin tail grub with a skirt on top. I actually have one on. This is one of the Yamamotos. That's one of the lead-free bass jigs, but this is just really, I'll go through, how to rig up and everything. But here's what it looks like, on the jig head. And this is on an open jig head. You can use a jig head with a weed guard. I tend not to. But that's what you're kind of looking at, guys. You've got your football head style jig, whatever brand you like. I'll show you the ones that I have. And you've got your 4 or 5 inch twin tail grub. For this video's purposes, I'm going to just refer to them as spider jigs because that's what I call them. You see the skirt on top. And these purple colors are great. I throw them a lot. But that's what you're looking at. And you're throwing this out and you're just dragging it along the bottom, swimming it a little bit. I fish it like just a regular football head jig. Just a regular football head. But I'll show you this setup here after we talk about everything. Okay. So as far as a jig head goes, if you want to throw this bait, if you've never done it before, I would recommend like I think that's a 7. This is a 7.4 medium heavy. This is an Ardent rod. It's a football head jig and worm rod. I don't know if you guys are probably going to be able to see that. 7.4 medium heavy. This is a lose reel. I think I've got 20-pound fluoro on there. That's probably a 1/2 ounce jig head, and then the bait. And you're really, if you guys have thrown football head jigs, it's really the same thing. It's not that different. It's really not different at all. But let me show you a few of the jig heads that you can, your choice. Now, as I've said many times, I live in a no-lead state. So these lead-free bass jigs are box here, I know I've shown you guys in these and other videos, did a video on them when I got them, are a great option for up here for us that are in non-lead states. So you've got your football head. This is a small gap hook. This one I think is even made more for like if you're going to slow roll like a Kitech or something. But you know, you've got your football head style jig, and these are lead free. I believe that's a 2 or a 3/0 hook. I think that might be a 3, but whatever. I wouldn't go much smaller than a 3/0 for these 4 and 5 inch baits. These kind of look like, well, this is probably the 2/0, and this is probably the 3/0. That would be my guess. And I've got it in the green pumpkin. Ow, that hook just went my finger. I've got it in the black, and really, you don't really need anything other than that. That's your football head. That's your jig part. I have other jigs that are lead style jigs that I've had for a long time. I'll show you some of the ones. This is like a Bass Cave. I have a few Bass Cave jig heads. If you guys are in a state where it doesn't matter if you use lead or not, Bass Cave is a good option. Or the Picassos. These are one of the first ones I got, the old Picassos. I think these are like 3/4 ounce. Sometimes I like that big size, that big 3/4 ounce, especially if I'm fishing deeper and dragging on a long rock. But you see that big, this might even be an ouncer, this one. That's a big head on that one. It depends on how deep you're fishing. I think this is I think that's another Picasso. I think these are Picassos. This is, I think these are Danielson that you can get on Tackle Warehouse. They have a nice football head jig, if they're still available. Any of these baits I discussed today, guys, if they're available still, I'll put them in the description for you. You can check them out online. Really, the first, this is, I think Arky had this jig head. I think this is the first spider jig head I ever used, because back in the day when I used to get these, the gag craws, the JDC gag craws out at Northern Bass Supply, they used to sell this jig head too, and it was a great combo, and it worked great. Now this is lead, so I don't use it around here, but it had that little wire weed guard on there. But I would just throw this, and I think but the biggest they always made of these, I think, was 3/8. I was always hoping to get a half, but 3/8 was the biggest I could find, so I would usually just throw it on a spinning setup. But you could throw it on, I mean, these bigger sizes now I throw on casting with heavy line. But that's a nice option if it doesn't matter if you throw lead or not. And as I said, there is a ton of different options of baits you can throw. I showed you the Arky. I know Arky still makes these, and I'll put the link to it in the description. The Arky Salty Curl and Grub. One of the first ones back in the day when I started bass fishing I threw was this one. Always caught fish with these. And these packs are old. I'll show you the packs I got here on the table first, and then I'll show you some of the boxes I've got. But I know you can still get this. At least the last time I looked, they still had these on. And I always loved this color. I don't think I'm just gonna. I don't know if the names are still gonna be on here. But it was like a crawfish type color. This one was always my favorite one. And then I think they kind of changed their plastic. It just didn't seem like it was. Yeah, brown chartreuse they called this one. I think when they first got them, this was like a black and brown one. But I have more of these Arky style ones in the boxes. I'll show you guys when we get to it. As I said, the gag craw, a bait that's discontinued. Sometimes you can find them online. This was a great spider jig. This is the 5-inch. I always use the 5-inch, I believe. I don't remember buying any of the 3. I don't remember even seeing the 3-inch back in the day. But this was just, this is still my favorite one. If I go out and throw these around, this is usually the one I'm throwing on first. That bubblegum color can be very, very good in dirty, dirty water. That's watermelon chartreuse fleck. That's just the black with red. But this was a classic spider jig bait. And I do have some packs of them. I did pick some up at the outdoor show. There was some available a couple years ago I grabbed. And if I see them again, I will grab more of them. You can tell how old these packs are. These are old. They probably even have, If you could still see the the sales sticker on there, it would probably say Northern Bass Supply, because that's the only place you could get them back then. But that was a great one. That one you're not going to probably be able to find. The Yamamotos are widely available. And these are old packs of Yamamotos. These ones, you can see that purple one there. I won't even be able to tell you these colors. Some of them, I don't know how many different colors they still make at Yamamoto. But these are some of the newer, the 4-inch size from Yamamoto. You can tell it's in the clamshell. That's a green pumpkin, purple and copper. That's a nice one. I'm not sure what that one says, a little rubbed off. But they're like, I'll take some out of the pack and show them to you. Cinnamon, black purple flake is a nice one. They're all nice. Pumpkin with black flake and green flake. This one I can't tell what it is. I'll pop this one up just to show you quick. So if you buy the Yamamotos nowadays, this is how they'll come in that clamshell here. So they're not getting all bent up. But there's your 4-inch size. I believe that one that's on there is a 5-inch. This one you can tell is a little smaller. But you've got your twin tail grub. So just imagine a grub. There's your twin tail grub. And then just put that spider skirt on there. Hence the spider jig. That's a 4-inch size. So you can get along with get away with a smaller hook on that 4-inch size, because that's the body of the bait. It's not that big where your hook's going through. Like one of these, I think one of these guys here would probably be too, let me see. This would probably be too big for it. I mean, it would fit, but it would kind of overwhelm this soft plastic. I would go with a smaller, even one of these guys. I would go with a smaller jig head. That one there. But to me, even though I know I can't read that color, green purple, I think that's just, so this is probably just a green pumpkin. A green and purple flake in it. And I think they're 8 packs, am I correct? 10 packs. Yeah. So you get 10 in a pack, it's not bad. And they come in that clamshell. And you keep them in there, keep your tails all flat and they don't get all bent up. So it's a 10 pack, not bad for those Yamamotos. But that's probably one of the ones that's most widely available now. So showed you the Yamamotos. Here's I'll have to check, as I said, if they're available and there's a link, I'll put it to you. I used to get these at the outdoor show in Suffern when I lived in New Jersey. Went to the Suffern Outdoor Show in New York at Suffern or at Rockland Community College, and this was Paul E. Worms. They always had a booth there, and they had a nice spider jig. So every year I'd go, I'd grab a few packs. I think they're 5-inch, yeah. So this is a 5-inch. So this one you can see, just to compare it to the Yamamoto or the other ones, the body's a little fatter, but you still got your 5-inch bait. You've got your twin tail grub, your skirt top. And these are nice too. Use these a lot. It's a good option if you want to throw something different. Try different ones. I always like to try different companies, different brands, try them out, see how I like them. But got a bunch of the Paulie's worms. If they are still a company that exists, now that the show is back down there, I don't know if they are a participant or not. I don't know. But as I said, if they're available, I'll put a link to it. You guys can check them out. But they have a nice spider jig. Used to get those at the outdoor show back in the day. And if there's any particular brand I show you guys and you want to see more of just that brand, let me know. I can do a quick video on just that brand. Local company up here, Jason from the Crazy Hick Bait Company, has a nice 5-inch spider jig, and he calls it the thingamajig. I know I've shown you this bait before. This is a really nice option. I'm trying to think of what the one that I throw the most of his that I've got so far is this one here, that iced limeade one. I like that color. For some reason, it looks good in the water. They all look good, but this one I tend to throw more. I just like that. I like that lighter belly on there, but nice 5-inch, there's your grub section of the bait. There's your skirt section on top. I'll rig one of these up for you quick. Let's see. What jig head do I want to use? You know what? I'm going to use one of the... If I throw it, when I throw it, I'm going to use not lead, so I'm going to go with... Let's see. I want a bigger gap hook for that one. Let me go with this guy. So if I was going to throw this, top or bottom, whatever way you go makes no difference. But if you're throwing a bait that's kind of two-tone like this, you always want your lighter side on the bottom. So I'm going to rig that right through the center. Stay in the center of the bait. And I just kind of go, whoops, I just kind of go like halfway down the body. Hopefully I stayed straight. The baits do tend to turn on you as you cinch them down. That's not actually bad for doing it on camera. I didn't mess it up too bad. It's a little off to the one side, more than I'd like, but it doesn't matter that much. And there you go. I could take that out, throw it out, drag it around. I actually would straighten that out. It's a little crooked. A little to the side there. A bit more in the middle of the bait. That's better. But perfect match with that green pumpkin head. And if you take these out, drag them around the rocks outside of weed lines, you will catch bass. It's a great option. And that 5-inch one is even, that's a nice meal right there for a bass. I could even probably go with a bigger hook on that. There you go. That's with that thingamajig on there. And I just put that hook in my finger again. But the thingamajig is a nice option. And I always like to support our local bait makers. So Crazy Hick Bait Company, I will put a link to their site. Jason makes a lot of great stuff. You can check it out on there. But got his 5 different colors that I have. I think these are the colors that he has right now. He may have more. Who knows? At the outdoor show, I might get some new colors this year. Let's see. I'll show you a few more that I have in boxes here. Maybe some companies. I don't know. I think this bait has been discontinued. I know there are some available on Tackle Warehouse and even at a discount now, so I think they're in clearance. So my guess is this. This is Demiki Fishing. That's their version of it. And they kind of had those cool little skirt things with those little bulbs on the end, which always I thought made their baits cool. Like the Hydra, and this is like their Hydra Creature, which I think is a 5-inch bait. But most of these are either 4 or 5. But I think these are on clearance. So my guess is that they're not making them anymore. But it's a nice option. There are some out there available if you like Demiki baits. I got a few of their different colors here. Very soft plastics. I throw these every now and then. As I said, my first go is usually the gag craw or the thingamajig, but they're all good. You know, if you have a favorite, if you like the Yamamoto, throw it. They're all good. But these are just some different colors of that Hydra Creature from Demiki. As I said, this one I think you can still get some, but I don't know if they're still going to be probably one of those things. Once they're gone, they're gone. But that's it. That's one version of the bait you could check out if you're interested. Let's see. Let's see how I have these in boxes. So I have, boxes of spider jigs from over the years. And I'll do my best to tell you what kind these are. I believe these are all the old gag craws. I believe it said it on the bait. So I'm not 100% sure. I'm just going by just the look that I think these are like the old gag craws. And when they were making the bait, they had a ton of different colors. I think this was called root beer. Unfortunately, that company is not producing this bait anymore because it was great. But I got a lot. It'll last me forever. But I believe, now some of these, I don't know if any of these are chompers. I think that could be a chompers there. Yep, that's a chompers because it says chompers on the, chompers is another popular brand of these. You can always throw a chompers. I know chompers is still around. So this is a mixed bag here of probably gag craws and chompers. But you guys get the idea. used to always like these June bugs, always worked well. These purples. I mean, there wasn't a color I threw that I would say is really, don't waste your time. They all work. I always did well with those purple ones. Always did well with those purple ones. So I think that's like a combo of chompers and gag craws in that box. Let's see, here's another one. Spider jigs. This looks like some Arkies. Here's some of those Arky ones. I always loved this one. That Arky one was always great with that crawfishy looking color. That one was always one of my favorites. And then a lot of these, I can remember back in the day, I'd see them at an outdoor show from just a regular, who knows, up in, maybe the Harrisburg show or in Suffern, somebody was making spider jigs. I grabbed a few. Maybe not a brand that was around for long. Some of these might be old Yamamoto's. I don't really recall. This might be a mix of, looks like Yamamoto's and just some, random brands. But there's those purples that I love. There's those purples that I love. Some more of the Arkies. The crawling grub. This, I remember getting these. I think I got these at an outdoor show somewhere. I just liked this color. And so I grabbed, a 10-pack or something. Or who knows, maybe I got them at Wacky Worm one year. But this I seem to remember getting at an outdoor show back in the day. Just like this was a cool color I saw that someone had at an outdoor show once, the black with the gold flake. And you can see some of these are a little longer. Some are 4-inch, some are 5-inch. Either one I think you're good with. If you want to be a little more finessey, I suppose you could throw the 4-inch. And the last box of my different spider jigs. Do my best. This is Arky here, I can tell. So that's the Arky. It's got those legs on. It's their black blue one. Here are some. When I see these colors, I'm always thinking these are Yamamoto's, but I'm really not sure. They might just be random brands I picked up at the show. Excuse me. Don't have a cough button or a sneeze button here in the studio. That's the Arky right there. This, I think, is like that other one I know I got at an outdoor show. I can just tell because the claws are different. They're a little more spread apart. More of the Arkies. That black and brown one is a good one. They're all good. Here are some chompers. You can always tell the chompers because they really smell like garlic. And it says chompers right on the legs. So there's some chompers here. I think chompers is still around. I'm pretty sure. I haven't bought them in a while, but I'm assuming that the chompers are around. But they make a really nice spider jig. Did very well with those back in the day. I think these are all, looks like these are all chompers. Yep. What's that say? Does it say chompers on there? I believe it does, yeah. So this is like the chompers and Arky box. I always like this color of chompers. I always like that color. I forget what they call it. Here's like a brown like chompers. Cool, that maybe marmalade. I forget what they call that one. Chompers is a good one though. So if you guys have thrown the chompers one, I'm sure you know. This, I believe, is the gag craw. See, I used to think it used to say gag craw on the legs. Oh, I think this one does. Yep, gag craw. So there's a gag craw for you. Maybe the older gag craws had the name on the legs. The newer ones didn't. Let's see. That says a gag craw, I think. Oh, that's a chompers. There's the chompers there. So any of those guys, if you have a favorite, go with it. As you can see, there's a ton of options. There's a ton of options here. And as far as the heads go, there's a ton of options there too. So whatever head you like to use, go with it. Now, as far as fishing a spider jig, now I have caught bass flipping spider jigs around docks, throwing them around riprap, kind of swimming them, because with those twin tail legs, they swim nicely. But this time of year, as we get into fall fishing, even though it's been unseasonably warm, I know it's not going to last forever. Right now, fishing this, I'll fish this pretty much the same places that I'll fish like my open water sniper. Any football head jig that I'm throwing, I'm going to throw it out there, let it sink to the bottom, and slowly drag it back to the boat. I may hop it occasionally. A lot of times, with that tail going, you'll get the bite on the fall. So, if you are wondering why it's taking so long for your bait to get to the bottom of the lake, it could be because somebody's got it in their mouth and they're swimming around with it. So always be a line watcher when you throw these out. If you cast out and you see that line kind of going, that means somebody caught it on the way down. A lot of times, if you get by suspended fish, that's when they will hit these spider jigs as they're going, to the bottom. So always be a line watcher. But I'm going to throw this out, let it sink to the bottom. I'm going to be out 10 to 20 feet probably off the bank. The open water sniper bite has been good lately, so I would assume this will be too. And I like to have this as a switch up or a change up. I like to have both options because this doesn't have the big bulky skirt. It only has this little bit tiny skirt here. And sometimes they like this better. Sometimes they like it better. I think it's good to show them some different options, especially if everybody's throwing a sniper or a regular football head jig with a big skirt on it, and you're throwing this guy. You might be the one who gets the bites. The fish might see something different and be a little more interested. So I always think it's good to show them both styles of a football head jig. And it's pretty easy fishing. Throw it out, let it sink to the bottom. And I like to be in like rocky areas. If it's real weedy, I wouldn't suggest this, but I don't really throw a football head jig in heavy weeds either. A lot of my lakes around here have scattered weeds, so you're going to pick some up along the bottom. And unfortunately, you're throwing an open hook. Most of the time, I prefer the open hook. You could have football head jigs with weed guards on them. That's if you prefer that. If you're in some real gnarly, maybe rivers or something, and you want that little bit of, extra protection from the getting hung up, you could go with that. I tend to use the open hook. Sure, you're going to get hung up every now and then. It's just part of the game. But I use heavy line, heavy fluoro, 20 pound, dragging it along the bottom. And sometimes I said I'll hop it. And then, because when you hop it off and it's going to swim back down, these legs are going to really work. I always put scent on these. I'll rub some, some garlic scent on there or some of the bait fuel. I just rub it in there. Different color spider jigs. I will use the, like if I'm going to throw, let's see, what's a good one to show you. If I was going to throw one like just this green pumpkin one here, I would probably, I shouldn't say probably, definitely, I would take those dye markers and probably take like the end of those and put a little orange on there or chartreuse. Usually I go orange. And just give it a little color. Just give it a little color, a little orange. And sometimes I'll even take the dye markers and that skirt and just kind of dab it on there. Put a little coloring on that skirt just so it kind of sticks out a little more. Most of these, I think, I shouldn't say most of them. A lot of these have some scent in them, but I always add a little garlic. The chompers stink. They're loaded with garlic already. So I think they're making everything in the box smell like garlic. Because when I open this box, it smells like a pizza. But if you're going to just throw one out of the bag, let's see. If I was going to throw this thingamajig, come here, thingamajig, get a different color. And this is the black and blue one. Now, obviously, the black and blue one, I don't need to really put any color on there. But I will definitely rub, some scent on the body of these. Or spray it. I have that Bang garlic spray. I'll spray on there. Every now and then, give it a spray. Let it stink up, because as it hits the water and it's got all that scent on it, it kind of makes a scent trail. And it can't hurt. And swimming these can be very good. So you guys can imagine these legs, undulating through the water. So don't be afraid to throw it out. Now, I don't necessarily throw it like a swim jig. You can. I haven't really done that. If you're throwing on a big football head, it's not really that different if you're throwing in the fall, if you're throwing a big Kitech swim bait and slow rolling it along the rocks. You can do the same thing with this. If you like, I don't really do that very often, but I do notice a lot of times that the fish will either follow you or hit it on the way down or when you're reeling it back to the boat. So don't be afraid to every now and then do a little reeling you could do a quick 4 or 5 turns and let it sink again. See if that'll promote a bite. You never know. Maybe that'll get the fish going. But it's a great addition to your jig fishing. I always like to have the football head jig on, especially in the fall. But this is a great thing to have too, and to try and to see. Sometimes they will like the soft plastic more, and then the different skirting type. It's not maybe it looks a little more natural for whatever the reason. It's a great option. It's a great option, and it looks very, very edible in the water because of those legs moving. So when those are kicking, that really can tear up the bass. So that is part 1 of the spider jig video. As I said, we're already at about a half hour. I think half hour. Yep, half hour. So I don't want this to be an hour-long video, so I'm going to make it 2 parts and do the finesse part, talk about some of these Kitech spiders, Cabin Creeks that I like to use, and how I set up that, because it's completely different setup, system setup, rod, reel, and all that for those little guys. But that's it, guys. So hope you enjoyed that. I will put links to the lead-free bass jigs if that's something you're interested in. Any of these Picassos, Bass Cave, the Danielson, any heads that I see that I use, I'll put a link to those. You can check them out, and all the different spider jigs and the ones that are still available to you. Most of these, I believe you can still get. I think only like the gag craw that I know for sure is an old bait. But everything else you can still get. But that's it. So any questions, please let me know. It's really, really a great way to fish. If you haven't done it, give it a shot. If you love throwing jigs and like dragging the bottom, it's a great option for you if you haven't done it. And it shows the fish something different that I don't think a lot of people do anymore. I think now that, like open water sniper type jigs and football head jigs like that with skirts are so popular that showing them this could really make the difference of a few bites during the day. And just, especially lakes where, guys throw those a lot, and you're showing them something different. So it could really go, really help out. But that's it. That's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. So I'll put the links to all this in the description. Please like and share the video. If you're new to my channel, welcome aboard. And I'll see you guys soon on YouTube. Mark out.